You're
Hi.
live.
Hi,
Hey,
Mary.
Rita.
Okay, so big surprise to everybody today. We got Mary on the line. And
Hi, guys.
Mary is in New York, and I'm talking to you from California. And oh, I didn't change my title. So the last time I was online, Mary, my title for today's conversation, but we're going to add to it, okay? It was COVID-19, what's possible and what's probable. And
hmm
so that's what we discussed. What was going on? What were people hearing? What should they do? What do employers need to know? What do employees need to know? And I talked about not panicking because the numbers were, oh, Mary, what happened? Okay, everybody, we are going to, let's see if I can get Mary back. I lost you there for a minute. Yeah, hang on. Let's get you back on the screen. Yay, you're back. Okay. Okay. So we reviewed universal precautions. We we talked about a comparison of the flu, the current flu that we face every year. We face a flu virus, and we lose a lot of people. We do lose the population that are ill, elderly, more compromised. And that number was quite high when I checked about a week ago. It was between, well, the Center for Disease Control said 12,000, but a suspected 30,000 because not everybody reports, and it takes a while to get the data back. So
hmm
at that time also, there were 9 reported deaths in the United States from the COVID-19. And to date, we're at what, 22? So when we compare 22 to 12,000 to 30,000, we're not really in a huge place of danger. We're in a place to pay attention, right? And
Right.
um, and so what my title should have been today is, what are you doing as an individual? What are you doing as a team? And we don't want to just talk about the virus. We want to talk about our wholeness, our wellness. And Mary knows that is her specialty. And so that's what I think we need to address. 1, don't panic. 2, wash your hands more than usual. Stop wearing masks and gloves everywhere you go, because that's not the ticket. The ticket that I know about this virus that makes it a little stronger than others is that it stays alive on inanimate objects longer. They're
Yep.
saying between a day to 48 hours, possibly more. So that means the horrible places that aren't clean enough are places like bathrooms, um, doorknobs, and so forth. So
So, Rita, which is a big one that I realized, and now I actually went shopping wearing gloves. Shopping carts.
shopping carts, yes,
How
and
many people do it?
yeah, yeah, they touch that, and they touch their noses and their sneezes and their whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was just thinking of something. Oh, and so in California, we're fortunate because most of the places where you market, where they offer you a cart, they offer sanitizing towels, wipes.
I love
So
it.
that's one thing. Or you could just, like you said, wear gloves. You're with the baby, you're going to wear gloves. You're going to be extra safe. And then when you take those gloves off, what? Wash your hands. Okay. Wash. Our friend that grew up in Kentucky said in Kentucky, they say wash. And I do like that. Um, so Mary, I know you have a lot of things that you want people to be well, that you focus your livelihood on wellness. So what's your take on the coronavirus and how people can maintain wellness and going forward facing this virus? Like everybody's canceling their cruise ship, trips and things like that. What do you suggest? What do you think?
Well, I would suggest canceling the cruise ship. I mean, that is sort of a,
Yeah,
I think at this point in time, you don't want to be, even in flu season, I wouldn't take a cruise.
right.
Again, the coronavirus, I think, is a big wake up call for all of us. How often do we get, events like, I had a couple of weeks ago that we don't even know what it is, but there's some strange virus that we get and we get sick and it passes through us and then it goes, correct? The
Correct.
coronavirus, now that it's on such a pandemic level, really is telling everybody, what are you doing to help keep yourself healthy? What are you doing for your immune system? What are some of the basic things that you can be doing? I mean, we all know that a good night's sleep is optimal, but how many people really get a good night's sleep? And why is it optimal? It's optimal because your cells are regenerating while you're sleeping. They're helping to rebuild themselves so they can fight off anything that would enter their body, any kind of bacteria or virus or germs. And corona is a virus; it's not a bacteria. So at this point in time, and I've heard, as you did, that it lives up to 10 days, not 48 hours, which is why it's so dangerous. So, just start paying attention, number one, and I know you went over this the other day, to everything you touch, and then how often you touch your face, you bite your nail, you pick your eye, you pick whatever it is, right? And then secondly, what are you doing to really beef up your own immune system? Do you eat citrus? Do you have an orange? Do you have orange juice? Do you eat vegetables? Do you take any kind of essential oils like, the immune defense, or like I think thieves, they have all these frankincense. There's all essential oils that you can use to help beef up your immune system as well. Part of, your immune system being healthy is you being healthy. So if you're out partying all night, and you're not getting sleep, your immune system is going to be down. Oftentimes you'll notice that, people who go out and they like have a really rough weekend, they end up with a cold or whatever, because their body has now opened up for invasion because you've let your immune system has been compromised.
Gotcha. Isn't sugar, we're talking about partying, we're talking about drinks mostly, right? But isn't sugar kind of I know that when I was a younger woman, when I would have too much sugar, I was more prone to yeast infections. And as an older woman, sometimes if I have too much sugar, or sometimes that combination of sugar and caffeine, I'll often wake up with a headache. So I know that those things that are not as nutritious can actually deter you from staying healthy.
Well, sugar is candy for all things that cause inflammation, right? Cancer, bacteria. So if you overdose on sugar, your body's in a state of inflammation. If you're in a state of inflammation, you are not optimally in a state of highly being immunized, because your body is fighting the inflammation. Beer, ingesting yeast, another thing that causes inflammation. So when your body's inflamed, and, many of you have had those, or you've seen things where you either have too much, for me, it would be Italian food, or too much to drink. And the next day you're sort of puffy.
Yeah.
You're swollen, your ring fingers tight, whatever, because your body's in a state of inflammation. And so having that, means you're immunocompromised. So it's really paying attention to the basics. Yes, wash your hands. Yes, even when you buy water bottles, and I'm guilty of it as well, right? You buy a water bottle, you open the cap and you drink it, right? But who knows, the person before you, if they didn't cough on their hand to move that water bottle. And now it's on the cap, right? So you got to just be much more aware of how you could put germs in your body without even thinking about it. And you have to be more aware of what are you doing for your body to help beef it up. Now, there are lots of different supplements, I think, out there now, right? Ginger's a good supplement.
Oh, yeah.
And you're in California, which is great because you guys have such fresh fruit and vegetables. Here we don't have as many.
We have the highest number of recorded coronavirus carriers right now, because ships coming in and flights coming in. So we do have a lot of quarantined persons in California.
Right. Well, California, I think, after Washington State right now has the most people infected. But I got to tell you, New York is catching up. We had one in Westchester over the weekend, and now we're like 50. I have a friend who was at a services at a temple over the weekend. They called all 500 people.
Tell us about that. I mentioned that. How is he doing, and how are the people doing that were there?
I really don't know. I don't know how any of them are doing. I'm hoping he's doing fine. If he wasn't, I would have heard of it.
Yeah,
but I know that Westchester, which is where I'll be on Thursday, is sort of like our little hub here now. So, it's great to have those people quarantined. And I know that, unfortunately, because of and I don't want to say hysteria because I don't think we're at hysteria now, but I think people have really escalated this. Travel is going to be really impacted for a lot of people. Excuse me. And if you don't have to travel, don't, if you can avoid it. I know a lot of companies, at least here in New York, are canceling people who are going to go to conferences, or even having conferences.
Yeah,
They're making
business conferences. I've heard that as well. And I just think that's prudent. A friend of mine had a cruise planned with Viking Cruises, a cousin of mine actually, and Viking called them and said, we were going to give you until the day before the cruise to decide whether you want to take credit or take that cruise. So they opted out. But I thought, isn't that a way a company should behave? We want you to be safe. We care about our customers. Here are your options, and that's closed space without fresh running water. I mean, it's interesting. Right. I think that's the way I would choose not to travel.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, don't put yourself in a situation where there's thousands of people. I mean, and concerts are one of those. I know that I was going to go to a concert this weekend. I just thought twice. I said, why am I going to do that? I don't have to. If you can avoid being around a lot of people, because that's where, I love that movie Outbreak. I might be aging myself, but remember that movie with Dustin Hoffman? Outbreak years ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure I saw
that. Well, it's about Ebola, which clearly is a whole different thing. But it really shows you how things get out of hand quickly, and how it's really hard to contain something that's airborne.
Right.
Because you don't even know you've been exposed, and it's 10 days till after you're exposed till you get sick. So you don't even know it. You could be walking by somebody and look at the New York City subway system, right? You're on the subways. Trust me, that's got to be a little hotbed of it. When you have a lot of different people there, everybody's coughing or sneezing or whatever. You don't have to, all you have to do is breathe. But a lot of people are wearing masks now, I will say that. But at the same time, if you have a really good, healthy immune system, even should you contact it, you would survive it.
Yeah. Here's something, I don't know if you've thought about it or if you've read anything about it, or is that it seems that children are not as susceptible. So
really?
What do you think that is? Are they just walking around with healthier immune systems?
Maybe. Maybe because they all have vaccines. I don't know why children. Normally children are a target audience for these kind of bugs, right?
I'm so grateful for that, but I don't understand that. They're in China with the huge population. There are less children. In the States and in Europe, we have multiple families with multiple children. In China, that's less predominant. But in a general way, they said that children are not being affected, which I am really grateful for. But I wonder.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder. Yeah. Did you ever wonder?
Well, you know what? As we look back on this, a lot will be learned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll see, who is the most who are the most susceptible. And again, it's always the elderly, it's always the infirm, always people with chronic diseases, people who are immunocompromised. You could be 40 years old, but if you're not in good shape and you're not taking care of yourself, you may get frequent colds, frequent sinus infections. When you're immunocompromised, someone may not have told you that, but you pretty much know it. So you should be, eating those oranges, eating that ginger, maybe taking some essential oils just to beef it up. In addition to washing your hand, watching what you're doing, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I like it. So work on your immune system, be smart and prudent in how you behave and where you go. And then I think, as we are, each other's students and teachers, share what you know. And I know a lot of times we hug and we shake, and I went to an event on Saturday night and I reflected back how many people that I hadn't seen in a long time. I did hug them. Nobody was sick. Nobody was coughing, but I did meet a few people and shook their hands. And I think we can do, somebody said jazz hands, which is fun to see people walking around with jazz hands, or the fist bump is preferred. But then what are you going to do every time you touch someone you can't run and wash your hands. So I think maybe not doing that for a bit. I don't know. I don't know if that's going too far. Yeah.
Recognizing really, what is the hug and what is the handshake? It's I see you and I'm really happy to see you and I just want to hug you, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's, you find a way to give a verbal hug.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled to see you and I'd love to hug you, but here, take this, just
air kisses.
my husband's touching elbows. That's his new thing. He's like
well, that's smart. I'm using my elbow a lot to move doors in public places. Yep. Yeah. I'm using my hip and my elbow.
They work well together, don't they? I've been using my elbow a lot as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mary, you mentioned that you had an immune response or something this week personally. Did you want to say what that was?
Well, I had last week, I was perfectly fine. I think I told you this. It's very strange. I was perfectly fine. And then around 2 o'clock, I started not feeling so good. And I think I'm in pretty darn good shape.
You are.
And 2 o'clock, I'm not feeling good. I slowly but surely get worse and worse, so that by 7 o'clock, I've got a fever and I'm off to urgent care with full-blown flu symptoms. Now, this year, for the first year in many years, I did not take the flu shot. And I was like, doesn't it just figure the 1 year I don't take it, I get it? Yeah. I go up to urgent care where they, do a swab. They tell me I have influenza B. Go home, do fluids, take Tamiflu, blah, blah, blah. I go home, I wake up the next morning, and I'm perfectly fine. Go figure on that one. How often do you get a flu for 3 hours or 4 hours? Right?
It didn't resurface, no more fevers, nothing like that.
Well, I actually didn't feel great Sunday night. I went to another urgent care on Monday because, when you have the flu, you have to quarantine yourself, right? Yeah. And I have a busy life. So I went to another urgent care because I didn't understand why did they tell me I had the flu and now I'm fine. They flu checked me and now I'm negative for the flu. So did I have the flu? Did I have something that presented like a flu? I have no idea. I'm fine at this point in time, and I was fine most of the week. So but it was just one of those viruses that sort of came in and moved through me quickly. Don't know where I got it from.
Maybe because they swabbed your throat?
They swabbed my nose.
And they found influenza B.
The first urgent care found it. The second urgent care didn't. My GP's take on the whole thing was there are a lot more false negatives than there are false positives. So treat yourself as you have the flu and take the Tamiflu. So I took the Tamiflu because I didn't want to take the Tamiflu if I wasn't sick.
Right. Well, here's my take on it. You do have a good immune system. I think you may have had some of that flu in you. And because you're well hydrated and well rested and you take care of your body inside and out, that maybe you just had a great immune system. I'm sorry you felt sick, but.
Oh, yeah, me too. No, it could be that. And you made me just think of one thing, Rita, too, stress. Stress decreases your immune system.
Oh my God. Yes.
So anybody who's really under stress at this point in time, go get a yoga class, go get a massage, take an energy therapy, do something to relieve some of that stress. Because that stress is like one of the number one things that decreases your immune system.
I agree. And I say that all the time. I say that, and I recognize that myself. When it hits, it hits. It's not like if you're stressed day in and day out, I am so sorry for you. You have to address it. But if I just have a stressful moment or evening or morning or, I feel it immediately. So.
Yeah. Stress management, I believe, for any teacher who might be listening, that's something you should be teaching in school. This, whole different conversation. But, a lot of the skills necessary to be a healthy, emotionally strong adult could be learned in school. One being, how do you manage your stress?
Yeah. My kids were exposed to some wonderful teachers, and I can remember them recognizing when the classroom was sort of hyped up, over energetic, or low, or whatever. She'd have them put their arms on their desk like this and rest their heads and think pleasant thoughts. She'd do that just for a couple of minutes, and she was teaching a combo. I think it was first, second. And really respect her. She came from Great Neck, Long Island, and moved out here. Yeah, and I believe she had a special needs child herself, one of her children, and she did fantastic things. Their work every day was a large paper divided into 4, and they were all left brain, right brain, because if you had to write 7 words, say, that began with STR, strength would be one of them, right? Mm-hmm. So say you had to write 7 words that began with STR, that would be one box, but you would draw a picture to go with the word, and then one box would be clocks, and one box would be, the time, the clock.
Right.
Two blocks would be, like I said, left, right brain. So they'd be word language along with pictures. I can't remember what her 4th box was. Something else to do with math, but not times.
It sounds like she was training what to do for your mind. A lot of what you just said is what they do for patients who have dementia. That's actually how they diagnose it.
Yeah. It really. She did those sheets every day. That was just one piece of what happened in her classroom. And I'd never seen it before or after. It really was awesome. Okay. Thank you, Dory. Her name was Dory. Thank you, Dory. You touched a lot of lives. Okay, sweetheart. It's great to see you. You look very well. If you tilt your head to the left, we could see your Vizinda sign. Tilt your head to the left. There. Oh, there's your Vizinda sign. Yeah.
That's my Vizinda. Yeah, that's the outside sign. Yeah, thank you.
I like it. Okay, so so I think we should all feel okay about this coronavirus. I think the goal is worldwide that we're going to contain it, that people are doing a lot of wise things to contain it. And we can do a lot personally and with our teams at work. And I think we're okay. Our numbers are not too bad, and it's not a pandemic yet. And so let's hope it doesn't become one.
Yeah, well, and take care of you. If everybody just took care of them and watched their infection control, watched their immune system, we'll be fine.
Great. On that positive note, we're going to sign off. And Mary, I'd love to see you again. Maybe we could do this again next week.
All right, sounds good, sweetie. Talk to you soon.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you too. Bye.